Most people imagine the time of Jesus as a purely spiritual world. Sandals, sermons, miracles, and morality plays from a distant past. But for the people living there, daily life wasn't shaped by theology. It was shaped by money, or more precisely, by the lack of it. The world Jesus was born into was one of the most unequal economic systems the ancient Mediterranean had ever seen. Welcome to the history of finance, where money, power, and history collide. At the start of the 1st century, Judea existed inside the Roman Empire, the most efficient extraction machine the world had ever known. Rome didn't conquer territories to develop them. It conquered them to fund the center. Provinces existed to send wealth outward. Grain, silver, and labor flowed from the edges of the empire to Rome itself. Judea was poor, rural, and fragile. Most people lived on small plots of land, just enough to survive. A bad harvest didn't mean lower profits. It meant hunger. Rome governed through local elites and Roman officials. Their job wasn't to improve lives. It was to keep order and make sure taxes were paid. And taxes were brutal. You paid because you existed. Land tax, produce tax, head tax, tolls, and religious taxes on top of imperial ones. Miss a payment and there was no appeal. Tax collection was outsourced to local contractors who squeezed the population for profit. If you couldn't pay, you borrowed. Debt spread everywhere. Interest grew fast. Land was collateral. One bad year could cost a family everything. Over time, land concentrated into fewer hands. Large estates replaced small farms. The majority fell into permanent insecurity. There was no safety net. No welfare. Family and charity were the only protection, and they weren't enough. This is the world Jesus was born into. People weren't poor because they failed. They were poor because the system required them to be. This pressure created constant tension. Judea wasn't peaceful, it was volatile. So when people heard words about forgiveness, release, and justice, they didn't hear metaphors. They heard survival. Forgiveness meant debt relief. Release meant escape. And then there was the temple. Not just a religious center, but a financial one. A treasury, a tax authority, and a market. Religious taxes didn't replace Roman ones. They added to the burden. The temple elite worked closely with Roman power, turning moral authority into economic control. When Jesus challenged this system, especially in the temple, it wasn't just religious protest. It was economic confrontation. He wasn't threatening Rome with violence. He was threatening legitimacy. And history shows us something important. Empires don't fall only because they are unjust. They fall when people stop believing the system is necessary. If this gave you a new perspective, like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.